morning, everybody. It is April 26th, 8:26 a.m. I don't have to say it wasn't crazy yesterday because it was. That was an unexpected trend day lower, especially with the two largest companies reporting earnings after. That's usually not typical. But hey, this market's nuts, right? Just crazy that happened. And then craziness ensued when Microsoft and Google beat earnings, shot both of them up to the sky, but Google came back down to earth. I see now in pre-market they're positive. They were negative, down up over a percentage earlier. So let's get into these. Well, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. Getting a little ahead of myself. First, let's do the introduction. Anybody who's new, my name's Steven Gonzalez. I look at futures markets, stocks, look at volume profile, market profile to structure trades around. Either I'm using futures as a proxy for stock and trading it, or trading the futures outright. Also look at supply and demand. Very important key levels, and using gamma levels. Continuously seeing the power of using the gamma levels. So let's talk about my channel, right? Like we're at 101 subscribers. Hopefully we get some new blood in there, and you guys can subscribe, send some notifications, share with anybody, your trading friends who are interested in learning how to read the market, right? You can always, hey my man, you can always follow me on Twitter, Gonzo719. Okay, you can always follow me on Instagram, Gonzo719 Jersey. Right? And let's get into these future watch lists. All right. All right. So we got Bitcoin's up 6.56%, almost at 30K. That's pretty powerful. Ether's up 5%. Okay. Nasdaq up 0.91. Silver's up 0.81. The VIX is up. Now the VIX is over 18 now. All right, we made it over that hurdle. So volatility is going to rise. Okay. 10-year yields up 0.65. ES is up 0.2. Gold's up 0.17. The Dow's up 0.16. Bonds being sold, hence 10-year yield should be up. Russell's down. Russell's down. Now First Republic Bank is down big time pre-market, so regional banks is going to weaken the Russell. Dollar's down 0.49. Crude is down 0.77, down to $76 a barrel. So crude's showing a lot of weakness lately. Probably some economic uncertainty on demand causing that. Okay. Okay. Now Microsoft beat a lot of artificial intelligence. Also, what just happened is their acquisition of Activision has been blocked in the UK. However, it's been a beast. It's up 7.88% because it got hammered yesterday. It closed at 275, and it's already up almost to 300. Okay, now Coin's getting beaten down. Coin just got initiated as a buy. Okay, so they're up 5.65%. Snow probably getting some AI love. Up 4.63%. Boeing beat earnings. They're up 2.92%. Amazon hasn't even reported yet, and it's getting some sympathy, I guess. Maybe AI, maybe 2.4 up to 2.49%. AMD up to 3 up to. Let's go over to 2%ers, right? AMD, Baba's getting beaten down, but that's going up now. Baba is cutting prices. Usually that cuts into margins, but we'll have to see. Nvidia is up 2%. Now Meta is going to report after the market today. Okay. Tesla got a downgrade. Microsoft got upgrades. Google got upgrades. So speaking of Google, They missed their ad revenue was down. Okay, their ad revenue is down, but they did get an upgrade. Goldman Sachs is flat. Apple's down 0.35. Netflix now. Netflix just lost 1 million subscribers in Spain due to some password issue. So that's interesting. Okay. So a lot of news to cover with all those things that I just covered. Let's move on. Top sector stocks. Salesforce is up 1.26%. Visa beat earnings. They're up 1.22%. Roblox up 0.8. Is there a laggard? Let's see. Not really. Well, Exxon down 0.32. Moving on. Let's go to the sectors. All right, no surprise here. Technology, Microsoft's one of the largest holdings in technology sector, up 1.44. Semis getting love, AMD, Nvidia. Okay. Discretionary, that would be Amazon. And the lagger, energy, healthcare, defensives. Okay. This is going to be a wild day, I believe. Or it could calm down after the big move yesterday, but I'm not sure because Microsoft, it's going to be nuts. Okay. UPS got a downgrade because of their earnings. Just giving you another one. All right. All right. Let's get into some news. I'm not going to cover a ton because we just covered a lot. Right. So let's just get into real quick some of the things I was talking about. Some things I want to cover. Okay. So here's the AI talk. Microsoft and Google parent Alphabet talked up investments in artificial intelligence for the second quarter in a row, but their results on Tuesday suggested that any substantial additions to sales will be slow. Right? Alibaba is cutting prices by 50% for core storage products. Okay, but they're gapping up. Chipotle beat earnings. We talked about. Now PacWest Bank actually beat estimates. So they're up pretty substantial amount. Visa we talked about. Just going over really quickly. And there's the upgrades of Google, or the price target at 130. McDonald's price target at 300. Microsoft the price target at 350. UPS cuts it from 209 to 198. Now we have Meta too, okay? After market today. That's about it for the news. Let's talk about where we are in the daily charts, okay? Finally broke out. It was very unexpected due to the big earnings. So you can see here, big candle breakout here. Let's zoom in. We'll just go to these lows. All right, so finally broke this AEMA daily. We were holding the 410 and finally broke. And where did we go? Right about here. So I actually should have had a level here. Right there. We went right to about 40. What was the low yesterday? 406, right? But basically right here, 405.97. Okay, that's where we closed. Currently at 407.24. So we're right about here. So still pretty weak. Okay, for that move. Came right down to this support here. No surprise. So that's the next move. We go lower, you got to break that. And then it's, I don't know, man. It's not looking too good. You got the 50 moving average after that. Okay, about 402.53. Let's look at the weeklies. So you can see we just came down to these weeks. This double bottom in the weeklies. And came down to, let me change this right in front of you guys. I like to see the 10 here. So we're basically came right to the 10 week. That's a very important level I look at on the weeklies. shows you a lot of trend. Pretty good. Okay. All right, let's look at the Qs. Now the Qs really broke this whole range. We ended up at the lows were 309.89. Okay, right here. Not a significant area per se, but that's where we ended up. All right. Now the next move would be down like 307. That's the like 50 to 50 day moving average. That could be possibly the next move down in the Qs to like 307. Now currently we're at 313. So we came down here, but we're at 313.13. So we're in the upper third of yesterday's session. Okay. Finally broke under the 80 MA daily, the 20 simple day moving average, which we already were holding under, but just a big long liquidation of all the longs that were in here. And I talked about that week low yesterday because I didn't expect it to just fall out of bed, but that was the break yesterday, that week low. I talked about it in the futures. All right, let's move to the weeklies. You can see those 3 weeks lows were taken out, right? And we're right at the 10. Okay. All right. Now let's look at the Dow. So in the Dow, also had this like these lows were broken, right? And we broke this key level of 336.19. All right. Now I'm gonna put an alert here because if we come up here, if we come up there, that might be a short, depending on what's going on in the market. But you can see we came right down to the 20 simple day moving average. That's where the Dow found support. Okay, now let's add a level here. I would say 333.43. This is right down by the 100-day moving average would be the next area that we would go to. Okay, you can still see we broke away from the most traded price. All right, so very interested to see where we go in the Dow. We can look at the weeklies in the Dow. In the weeklies in the Dow, there's that 333 level, right, ending up with the 10-week moving average right here. So that could be the destination. Okay, let's look at the Russell. Let's look at the Russell here. You can see this big range, we blew past it. All right. Next stop would be 172.53, which is big time support here. Okay. So we're underneath the 20, underneath the 8. Where's the Russell now? It's still weak. Okay, it's 172.50. It's right at this support level, right here. So if we break that, you could look at 171. All right, let's look at the weeklies. So you can see this range was just 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, and then, now we're at that key level, right? So if you look at the daily, you noticed a big push out of a range, but this is a big weekly range that now it's acting as support. All right. All right. Let's go with the triple-headed monster. Let's look at that because the VIX finally made a move higher. Let's go to the 10-year yield first. Alright, so the 10-year yield, we're kind of like finally in the 2-day range. It's been acting crazy. Maybe it stabilizes. The bond market doesn't really know what's going on either. So that's that. Let's go to the VIX. Now the VIX, okay, finally broke. Well, it broke out the other day, but we're above here. We're at like 1878, so we're above finally to 1793 and holding it. Okay, we did come up here, probably with the sell-off earlier. Okay, we were all the way up here, almost reached 20 yesterday. But now since with the Microsoft and the Google, we've kind of calmed down a little bit. So I would look at this area. I'm going to set an alert here. Because if we push above that, then probably going to have some further downside. But we should be, volatility is growing. Dollar is, another doji yesterday. And today we're selling off. So just a lot of indecision with the dollar and everything like that. Okay. All right. Let's get over to the market profile, volume profile. Let's look. We finally got something to look at other than balance. So let's go over there. Okay, so what are we going to look at? Okay, it's the last, we're looking at the last week. All right, so we have an incomplete profile we can look at. It has a bullish imbalance, actually. Now, I understand we just moved and it's rolling. Okay, but you can look at the month. It's really more important to look at the month right now. You can see it outlined in orange here. You can see the balance for the month. Okay, I don't want this to throw you off too much, because that would be a bullish profile. But you have to look. You have to be smart and look at the context of things. So the overall, we're in balance, right? Okay. So what do we look at? We're in balance. We just broke out to the downside. Okay, so we finally broke this range here. And now the job of the market is to see if we could have price, if value can follow price. So if this big level here can shift down here, that's going to be bearish. If this price, this value does not move lower, the most traded price of the week does not move lower, we're going to go right back up. So in a day like you have a big move like that, the next day you kind of consolidate. Okay, that's generally what happens. You consolidate. So if we do consolidate here, that is going to be bearish. Okay, and if we can't consolidate here, we're going to go right back up to these big levels. All right, so now we have to look at, what happened yesterday, right? We have to look at we're beneath the big levels, bearish, right? Now we have yesterday's high, yesterday's low. Now again, we have a weak low in the ES. Look at those lows. So buyer stepped in again. Weak hand stepped in. Okay, so the weak low here. We have the overnight high. You have kind of a balanced session. We have excess at the bottom. Okay, we have single prints from yesterday's session. Right here was the emotional selling happened right here. Only a little bit though, tiny bit. Okay, we have supply zone that formed. These are all the things you got to look at. Okay. Okay. So, right off the bat, here's yesterday's most traded price. We're right pretty much there. So what that's the market's telling you, especially in the ES, is the market is accepting these lower prices. We're not up here. This is the ES now. Okay, so market is accepting the lower prices. So right now there's a little bit of a bearish bias. Do I think we break lower and get continuation today? Not likely, but just like yesterday, I didn't expect this breakout. Okay, because of the big earnings coming. But now we have Meta after market today, so anything can happen. I definitely think if we stay down here, we probably test these lows. Okay, so the playground, you got to look at today is, can the market hold? Now, one more thing, I'm not a broken record. The 50%, the midpoint right here at 41.1750, that is the 50% retracement of this move. So it's very important. Whenever you get a big move, you kind of want to, that's your barometer here. And it kind of lines up with the overnight high. That's kind of your barometer. If we move past that and hold above it, that is not a strong point for sellers. Okay. Okay. So now that we have that, we're accepting lower prices. We can see, I don't know if there's going to be a big move today, but there might into this demand. So I'm going to go with the short side. Okay, so we're going to talk about our ES trade plan. Okay. Okay. So we talked about the midpoint, which people are going to look at. Okay. Overnight high. So we have an area right here that we don't want to go over. Well, that's a little mini bear bull line. Okay, that's 41.17. There's a supply zone here. Right? You have a lot of volume here. So what I would like to see, if you want to get a short in, either a push down, doesn't matter, as long as we come up here into the supply. Okay, and either the supply starts to get some selling, you get some weakness, you get some lower highs, I would definitely target this most traded price of yesterday, which would be around 41.03, and then I'd go for the lows of yesterday, 40.90, and then you can hold one for this weak low to break and take profit in this demand zone here. You got a naked VPOC here too at 40.80. Do I think we go all the way down to the 50 today? I don't think so. But I have to put it in there as a possibility. Okay, that's really where I would want to be short. Like I said, because if we go across this 50%, okay, you're going to start eating into the shorts of yesterday. So this is kind of the short land. Stay below this line. I got to look short. Okay. Now, let's look at the long. Now, of course, I'll give you one last scenario, but it wouldn't be a great one. Is if price did happen to go from here all the way up into here, this monster level, and we couldn't get above it, like I said, then you could possibly short. Probably a short would be decent, but I don't know if you get that much movement like that. Had to put that in there. Let's go with the long. Okay, now the long scenario is going to look at this weak low. Okay, these are weak hands. So what I would like to see for a long is, a lot of times what happens is, even when I started trading, is you get excited if I saw a weak low. You get excited because yesterday was a big move lower. You think that everything's going to go lower now. I mean, I don't think that anymore, but that's when you start out. You just see big red candles, you get excited. And then you're one of the guys that shorts here, thinking that, oh man, this is going to go crazy low. And then it doesn't, right? So it goes into this demand zone. Probably hits this naked VPOC, and then you see shorts piling in, you get lower highs. Then I would target the most traded price. I target this supply. And then if you hold one on, you really can make the move back up here towards the 20 simple moving average. That's really what I see today. This is such a big level, I don't see us cutting through that today. Pretty simple, right? Okay. Now Microsoft pre-market right now is at like 298. There's a huge level, 330, a gamma level. So that's a level that could be resistant. Okay, so, and it just made a monster move. We can look at that chart in a second. Okay, we'll have some time. Let's go over to the NASDAQ. Definitely a little bit of a stronger story in the NASDAQ, right? All right, again, let's bring the whole thing into view because it looks like a bullish profile, but it's not. We'll just look at the whole last 30 days, which is right here. And then we got balance. Okay, that's just a balance, but we broke to the side, lower side yesterday. But see, you could see the NASDAQ strong with that Microsoft, okay? So, we already just looked at the profile. We have a good demand zone, big one here, down here. Okay, so now we got to look at what our key levels, 130.70, 130.80 in this area. Big level. We're underneath it. Okay, we broke these lows. And we came down yesterday and partially filled the gap. So actually I'm going to bring into this chart here. This is just a 15-minute chart with my candles. 15-minute candles, volume profiles only for the real-time trading session. I'm actually going to take this gap now down to here because that's what we did yesterday. We partially filled the gap, and that gap was from 328. Okay, so come back here. So now we have to look at where we're at, right? So here's yesterday's highs, here's yesterday's low. We're way off the lows. We closed here. Okay. So again, you can see a lot of volume up here. That was long. They already got punished moving down here. And we're in the middle. See that says the mid? We're in the middle of the session. So this is not telling us much as far as the overnight. And we're right at yesterday's most traded price. Okay. Now let's look at yesterday's high, yesterday's low. Overnight high, overnight low. This is balance. Okay, you're in the middle of yesterday's session. Here's the midpoint. Now, remember that big move I said in the ES, you don't want to go over the midpoint. Well, check that out. Here's the NASDAQ. It's already up here. It's past the 50% of yesterday's move. So you can see just by that, it is stronger. Okay. A lot of overhead supply though. We got supply zone and supply zone. So another simple plan here. Okay, another simple plan. Let's talk about it. Pretty much the same as the ES. Okay. Now, the one thing to note here is what I'll talk about. You could get a long off, but I'll explain that in a second. First, I'm going to talk about the short. Okay. So any movement into here, this supply zone, I definitely wait a little bit for some lower highs to form. If we get weakness, you target yesterday's most traded price, then you target the overnight lows, and then you probably want to be careful into this big demand zone. Okay, same thing. Even if you break this supply, you still got supply from overhead supply from yesterday's high that could also cause weakness, and the same goes here. Okay, pretty basic. Okay, above us there's another supply zone up here into this big level. So another one here, even if we break this, it's going to have a really hard time pushing through here, and that could eventually be the downfall as well. Okay, all because we're below this key level. Okay, that's why. This should act as a wall now. Those are the shorts I'd be interested in. Now, judging on how weak or strong we are off the open, you decide where you really want to go. You might just think that this is your short up here, or this supply, but you really have to go by how the market's trading. Okay, now you have to think about it too with Microsoft. If you own Microsoft and you just did it as a long play off earnings, a lot of people might take profit right off. If they get any kind of weakness, you get Microsoft at 300, you might be taking your profit, right? So now let's talk about that long. Now, I'm not crazy about what I'm going to say here, but what could happen is, because the most traded price is here of yesterday, right? That in these would be shorts. So if you were short yesterday in the Qs or short in the stock, all right, this volume right here is short volume. And if we off the open will be determined, I would expect a violent little bit of a violent move this way or that way. Okay, but more violent if it goes up. So this could cause the initial push up into these supply zones. I wouldn't really want to go long here because of these supplies, but I'm just saying that could cause the initial push, because you're going to get these shorts to cover, and then the market's going to either hit this or go down, right? So the long for me only today, what I would like to see, I would doubt very much that we make it across this level and hold above here, because that's the only time I'd really be interested in a long. I don't see that happening today. Okay, the only thing I see is if we do hit up in here, come down into this big demand, and really see what the market does here. You start getting some higher lows, you go long, target yesterday's most traded price, and you target this supply and possibly go back to yesterday's highs. Okay, that's the trade. That's really the trade I'm looking at. Okay, now let's look at really quickly. We can get into what I'm seeing on Microsoft. Okay. Okay, so right now, okay, this is why I love zooming into these levels, and I have them automatically plot on my chart, right? So these orange lines are the previous week's high and low. The white is the previous month's high and low. So right off the bat, we can see right now, we're not even looking at Microsoft. My bad. Okay, so now we can see in Microsoft, previous month's high and low, right? Previous week's high and low. So Microsoft was pretty weak. You can see it broke this yesterday, went all the way down to here, okay, to a previous month's high right here, okay. So now Microsoft's at 298. It's all the way, it's not even here. Let me even move it in here. It's up here. So, I mean, let's see if that's even okay. So 298 is right here. To give you some perspective, it's right here. Now that's a previous month's, this month here, which is September. Okay, that's September's monthly highs. 294. It's above that right now. All right, and we have big resistance at 300. I'll show you that in a second. So just to show you that, oop, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, just to show you that it's like off this chart, right? So let's go into the 15-minute chart and with the gamma levels, okay? And we'll go into extended hours where we're at right now. So these are positive gamma levels, okay? So you can see this 300 strike is a huge strike, okay? So a lot of open interest in these calls. So that's really important for me to see. You can see how these bounce off these levels, even pre-market, right? 295 is also a big positive gamma level. Okay, and also how I look at these, this shows me already, the white is showing me last month's high, which is around 290. This is last week's high, which was 291. So it's holding above all those levels. Like I said, this 300 has got my attention. That gamma level has got my attention. In positive gamma, if you're in positive gamma, a lot of times these strikes will act as support and resistance when they first get hit. See that? And they might overshoot them, but then because dealers and market makers have to, when it comes up to here, goes above it, they'll short it to hedge. Okay, so that's just very interesting in Microsoft because it's such up at these big levels. Okay, so I got my eye on 300 and 295. So what I'm looking for is, do we push through 300, pull back to it, and then it rockets today? Do we pull back to 295 and you get it traded 300? Or do we pull back to this previous week's high and then that's the move? Let's say if the market drops into that demand zone, right? This is how I look at trading. If futures go into the demand zone that I talked about, right, and they start making lower highs, and you see Microsoft start hitting around 291 area, last week's highs, okay, and holding it, or even popping down to 290, which is a big gamma level, and starts making lower highs, well, then that could be a long. So it's just very interesting. A lot of opportunity here at Microsoft. I mean, you could even think short if we come up to 300 and you're into the supply zones I talked about, right? And you start failing, well, that could be the short. So there's a lot of stuff that you look at this. It's just, I know that these levels, watch these levels, 300, 295, 290 today. They're going to act as support and resistance. Trust me, it's going to happen. Okay. So that's about it as far as this. And That's about it for me. So hope everybody understands the plan. It's pretty simple today. Pretty simple. We're not dealing with gap ups, gap downs. We're not dealing with, oh my God, we're in this range forever. Okay, but just remember, overall, a big day down, trend day down, usually has a consolidation day the next day. So I wouldn't be looking for huge moves like to going breaking the highs of yesterday, the lows of yesterday. I'd be looking for maybe pushes down to the high or a low, pushes down to lows, breaks it a little bit. You trap retail traders going short, and then we kind of just move up slightly and either consolidate. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing. Okay, so everybody stay patient and yeah, stay patient and hopefully stay green, right? And we got Meta after market earnings reporting. Okay, so as always, subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, set an alert. Of course, give me a like. I appreciate that. You can follow me on Twitter, Gonzo7119, and Instagram, Gonzo719 Jersey. Okay, so everybody have a great day. And again, if there's something changed or something, that's important to note, I'll make a video. I've been very picky with my trading, so I haven't done a ton of reels this week because I've been very picky. So a couple break evens, small profits, very tiny losses. So like this market is not the easiest to trade. I'll be the first to admit that. So let's keep an open mind. And what I'm really looking at is I'm interested in possibly Netflix. Looking at that 320 level, it's a gamma level with that negative news. Coin needs to break a 60 and hold it for a long with the initial buy rating and Bitcoin being up so much. Okay, it's kind of what I'm looking at. So besides that, everybody have a great day. Okay, and if I don't make a reel, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning.